Hey friend, this is episode number 583 of the And So podcast with Taylor Bradford. Let's get to it. Boss Girl Creative presents And So with Taylor Bradford, business and life musings from a successful serial entrepreneur. Each week, you will hear Taylor spill the tea on all things business, life, relationships, health, and everything in between. But don't worry, each week also includes a business nugget that will help you stay on course. And now a throwback to 3-year-old Taylor who inspired all of this.
And so.
Hello, welcome to episode 583. I'm your host, Taylor Bradford. Thank you so much for pressing that play button today. We are continuing the series of what should we do next in our business, and this is number 3 from the original list I gave you a couple of episodes ago, and that will be today's business nugget. Let's dive into what's been going on in my world for the last week. I am officially in Colorado for a couple of weeks, so my recording space is a little different, and you'll just have to forgive me for how this sounds because there wasn't really a great place, and I was trying to beat my sister-in-law and father-in-law and nephew from arriving so that I still had a quiet house to record in. So I'm in one of the bedrooms. The closet is full of stuff, and I guess I could have recorded under this desk, but I'm not doing that. Once you get older, Anyways, in the garden before I left for Colorado, I planted some more corn, and I also planted the rest of the row with bush green beans, and I yanked out all of my spring cucumbers because they were just really, really sad. While I'm gone, I have a friend's son and herself helping in my garden just to maintain my okra, and if they find tomatoes and peppers, just to keep those plants going, and then also doing some weeding. And I hope they do a lot of weeding while I am gone. Update with the house, the shower prep for tile, I believe, is finished, and they have started tiling, which is amazing. Part of my cabinets were delivered, and the trim is still continuing. So that's good movement on the home front. And then with books, I read book number 3 in the Eve Ronan series, Gated Prey by Lee Goldberg, 5 stars. I won't read that synopsis. Go back a couple episodes when I talked about book number 1 and gave you that synopsis, but it's a really good series, and I actually am reading book number 4 right now, and I just love the characters. Okay, time for the first segment of the show. Unhinged comments from people on the internet. Honestly, it has been really quiet because I have failed. Actually, I've just procrastinated commenting back over on Facebook. So I'm sure people have said things and I just haven't seen them yet. So wait till next week. I'm sure they will be back because I've probably upset somebody on the internet with gardening. And that wraps up Unhinged comments. Okay, let's dive into the next segment. Search Bar Confessions. I feel like because of our travel to Colorado, I was not Googling that much. I was prepping to go, I was packing, and then I was traveling. So I Googled gifts for my 48-year-old husband because when we are in Colorado each August, we also celebrate his birthday. And so my father-in-law actually is bringing his gifts for me. I had them Amazoned to his house for him to bring to me. I Googled flat tow bar for Jeep. So we ended up trailering our Jeep, pulling with one of our trucks. And we had a trailer tire blowout in the middle of Texas somewhere. I don't know where we were, but nowhere close to anything to be helpful. And thankfully we planned ahead and had the necessary tools to handle that. And I think we probably managed to change the tire maybe 30 minutes it set us back. So that's good. But now we have literally ordered a whole new set of tires for the trailer and are having them drop shipped to us. And then we will take our trailer over to one of the local tire shops and have them mount all 4 brand new tires so that we hopefully, fingers crossed, don't have that problem. And honestly, it's because of the heat, and the trailer tires were on the older side, but the heat does bad things for vehicles and tires in Texas. Okay, also the Pagosa fire. So somebody mentioned, and I don't know who it was, but somebody was like, oh my gosh, there's a fire going just south, I think, of Pagosa. And so I had to go Google, like, how close to where we are is this fire? I believe it is relatively contained considering it's a fire. There is also a fire in Lake City area, which is, I think, 3 times bigger than the one down here in Pagosa. And I am just praying that we get a boatload of rain soon. We actually do have rain coming in tomorrow, and it will help all of these firefighters out. The route we chose to come up to Pagosa went through Santa Fe and up that direction, and I did end up seeing a water truck pull out off of one of the forest roads and then make its way back into town, and I passed a water truck going. So still actively working that fire. And then finally, I was Googling for local farms to support local farmers while we're here and buying produce, and found that Pagosa does have a farmer's market on Saturdays. So I missed it for this particular weekend, but I plan to shop it next weekend because it's through September. And there is a farm that I saw recognized, Canyon Farm, as a local produce supplier. They also supply honey. So I don't know what they will still be harvesting by next week, but I plan on going and supporting them. So that wraps up this week's Search Bar Confessions. All right, now let's dive into the business nugget, which is selling the thing that you already made. So I have a question for you. Did your offer fail, or did you just stop talking about it? Before you decide you need another offer, you need enough evidence to know whether you actually sold the one you already have. Because putting an offer on your website is not selling it. Launching it once isn't selling it. Mentioning it occasionally when you remember isn't selling it either. And creating another offer is very often more comfortable than doing the repetitive, sometimes vulnerable work of selling what you've already got created. And I can't tell you, like, I am focused on the 5 1s, right? And I have been selling my course every day. Every day in every reel that I create, I sell the course. And it does feel monotonous, but it's also working. And even though I am now building another product to swap into the front position of my funnel and then move my pest course into an order bump later in the funnel, I still plan on selling every single day. And I think that that is something for most of us, especially like me with Boss Girl Creative. I don't do that well with Boss Girl Creative, but I feel like I am literally throwing darts and hitting the bullseye every single day with the farm and selling the course. And it's just something that you just have to keep rinse and repeating. And even if your content comes back and resurfaces as content again, it's okay, because the likelihood of your audience seeing it twice is slim. But even if they do, it's a great reminder about what it is that you do. Now, I do think that you can go overboard. There is one gardener that I saw where she doesn't produce a whole lot of content in a given year. And so she does rinse and repeat way more frequently. And it is way more noticeable because the amount of content she produces is very little. So when you do repeat, let's say she produces 10 pieces of content a year, and then she goes back and starts back with number 1, it's obvious when there's only 10 pieces of content, right? I do see a couple other gardeners do this, but also you have to think about, we can only talk about planting garlic once a year because that's when you plant garlic. Harvesting garlic once a year because garlic is ready in certain periods of the year. Planting tomatoes for Texas 8B. I can start tomatoes in January and get them in the ground in late March, and then I'm starting them again in June. So you may see me talking about tomatoes a lot, and that's okay because that is just how gardening is. But I'm also producing content every single day, and when I run out of ideas or I feel like it's still relevant or needs to be re-relevant, if that's a word, then I will just put it out again and just change the song. And it's okay because not everybody is going to still see that content. And if they do, again, it's a great reminder. So I know that we create something and we're excited about it and we announce it and maybe we launch it and a few people buy it or maybe fewer people buy than we'd hoped. And immediately our brains go, okay, what's next? And then we start asking ourselves these questions. Maybe this offer wasn't right. Maybe I need something cheaper, or maybe I need something more expensive, and maybe they need a mini offer, or maybe I should create a membership, or maybe I need a new service or another course, or maybe I should bundle something together, or maybe I just need to pivot completely. And suddenly we're back in that creation mode, which feels incredibly productive, right? But there is an uncomfortable question underneath it. Did that offer actually fail, or did I barely give it a chance? And that's a distinction that we need to think about because when we get into this rhythm of creating a thing and publishing a thing and talking about the thing and then it's crickets and then we're like, well, crap, I got to create another thing and now I got to publish another thing. So creating is a task, but selling is a practice. And you can check build the sales page off of your to-do list, and you can check create the product off of your to-do list, and you can check launch off of that to-do list. But selling is something you have to keep doing. Sometimes we're building the next thing because building feels easier than continuing to ask people to buy the current thing. And that's where we start getting into feelings and emotions. This is the heavy stuff that most creatives, and I would even say entrepreneurs, feel icky about because it's all about selling more. And because it feels icky, we default to creating more, right? We just keep creating. And it's not always because we're distracted. When we create, we are in control. We can edit. We can perfect it, we can rename it, we can design it, we can build another module, we can add another bonus, we can change our website, we can work and just focus and do the task on our to-do list. And nobody can reject it while we are still working on it, right? Because nobody else's eyeballs are on it. But selling is different. Selling requires us to put something in front of another human being, and we're essentially saying, I believe this is valuable enough that you should exchange your money for it. And then they get to decide. And that's where it gets super vulnerable for us. Because then we start asking, what if nobody buys it? What if people think I'm being too salesy? What if they're tired of hearing about it? And what if people unfollow me? And what if the price is too high? Or what if I'm annoying? What if I keep talking about it and it still doesn't sell? Creating something new gives us an escape hatch from all of those questions. Because now we're busy again. We're working on the business. But you may not be doing the income-producing activity the business actually needs. We can spend months and months and months improving the thing we're afraid to actually promote. And that leads into a really important distinction. Productive work and revenue-producing work are not always the same work. I can say this confidently. Business owners and creatives dramatically overestimate how much their audience actually sees. From our perspective, and I'm going to say this because I've done this in the past, and sometimes I still do this. From my perspective, we've thought about the offer for months. We've written the sales pages. We've designed the graphics. We've sent the emails. We've created posts. We've talked about it in social media. We've tested the checkout page. We've answered customers' questions. So internally, we're thinking everybody knows about this, but they probably don't, because your audience didn't see every reel. They didn't open every email. They missed your stories. They followed you 2 weeks after your launch. They weren't ready when you mentioned it the last time. They saw it but didn't understand why they needed it yet. They saw it during a week when life was chaotic. And honestly, they just need to hear it more often. And this is why repetition matters. So when you feel like I cannot talk about this again, your audience might barely recognize the offer's name. Think about it this way. People also become ready at different times. Someone could have followed you for 6 months before suddenly experiencing the exact problem your offer solves. Now your offer matters to them. But if you stopped talking about it 3 months ago because everybody already knows about it, they may never encounter it when they're finally ready. There is a difference between mentioning something and marketing it. Mentioning sounds like, my course is linked in my bio. By the way, I have a program for this. If you're interested, check out my website. Posting the product graphic again and again and again. Sending the same sales email again and again and again. That's visibility, and it matters. But selling requires helping someone understand why the offer matters to them. You can sell the same offer through many conversations. You can talk about the problem. What is happening? Why does it keep happening? What are they getting wrong? You can talk about the consequence. What is this costing them? What happens when they don't address it? You can talk about the misconception. What do people believe they need versus what they actually need? You can talk about the desired outcome. What becomes possible when this problem is solved? You can talk about the process. How do you approach the problem differently? You can talk about the objection. Why might someone hesitate? What do they need to understand? You can talk about the proof. What result have you or your customers experienced? And you can talk about the offer. What exactly does it contain? Who is it for? Who isn't it for? And suddenly one offer gives you dozens of things to talk about. You don't need to say the exact same sales pitch every day. You do need to keep having conversations that lead back to the same solution. That is a very different way to think about repetition. You're not repeating the same commercial. You're examining the same problem from multiple angles. So if something isn't selling, your immediate conclusion shouldn't automatically be, nobody wants this. There are multiple places where the breakdown could be happening. Run through these things first. Are enough of the right people seeing it? If 30 people saw your offer, that probably isn't enough information. Do they understand the problem? Sometimes you are selling the solution before you've made the problem clear. Is your promise clear? Can someone quickly understand, if I buy this, what does it help me accomplish? Is the offer clearly for someone? Like an offer designed for everyone is difficult for anyone to recognize themselves in it. Are you communicating the value? Not simply stating, here are the 14 modules, but here's what becomes easier or different or better because of these 14 modules. Are you addressing hesitation? Many people want it, but they don't know if it applies to them. They think they're too beginner. They think they're too advanced. They don't have enough time. They aren't sure how quickly they will see a result, or they don't understand what they'll receive. Is the buying process easy? We talked about that last week. Have you actually asked people to buy it? This one sounds so simple and ridiculous, but it's real. Sometimes entrepreneurs and creatives spend weeks warming up an audience and then never make a clear offer. Don't diagnose an offer problem until you have ruled out a marketing problem, a messaging problem, and a visibility problem. So, You may be thinking, so I'm just supposed to keep selling indefinitely no matter what happens? Sometimes your offer may not land. And that's useful information too. So here are some signs you may need some refinement in your offer. People are consistently confused by what it is. The same objection keeps stopping purchases. People want the outcome, but not the format. People click, but rarely purchase. Customers buy, but struggle to get the expected result. People consistently ask for something slightly different. The offer takes far more work to fulfill than its revenue justifies. Or you have promoted consistently to qualified people and you're still seeing weak response. But here's the difference once you run through all those questions. Now you're refining with data. You're not saying nobody bought this in the first week, I'm just going to scrap it and try something else. You're actually telling yourself, I have enough evidence to see where people are getting stuck. The goal isn't stubbornness. The goal is giving yourself enough evidence to make an intelligent decision. That is how I literally decided something else needed to be in the front position of my offer. So I want to be clear about something. Launch culture has conditioned us to think offers have these tiny windows. It's launch, sell, close, move on. But unless your offer is inherently seasonal or time sensitive, why does it have to disappear? So you've already invested time, knowledge, money, experience, design, technology, and energy into this thing that you built, into creating something that solves a real problem, and then you give it 7 days of marketing? How in the world does that make sense? What would happen if instead of continually asking, what can I make next, you actually ask yourself, how many ways can I sell what I've already made? Because now you can develop new content angles, improve your positioning, gather testimonials, build case studies, create better onboarding, improve your email follow-up, answer objections, create evergreen discovery content, partner with other people, improve conversion. Your asset will get stronger doing these things. A good offer should become more valuable to your business over time, not become obsolete because you got bored promoting it. So this week, here's what I want you to do. I want you to choose one existing offer that you have. Not the newest idea, not something you're going to be creating, something that already exists in your portfolio. And I want you to answer these questions. When did I last meaningfully sell this? Not mention it, not link it, actually explain the problem, the solution, the value, the invitation. How many different ways have I talked about the problem it solves? I want you to write down the angles. If there are only 1 or 2, there's still plenty of room. What objections keep coming up? Those objections are content ideas. Where does the customer path break? This connects directly back to last week's episode where I talked about attention, interest, click, sales page, checkout, and follow-up. What would happen if you committed to selling this for the next 30, 60, or 90 days? Not exclusively, but intentionally, before creating anything else, give this one a proper selling cycle. And actually, I'm going to challenge you to do this for 90 days. Before this 90-day period, decide what you're evaluating. Here's some examples. Number of qualified people reaching the offer, click-throughs, conversions, conversations, leads, purchases, conversion rate, customer feedback, profitability, whether customers actually get the promised result. And then when you reach the end of these 90 days, you're not deciding based on, I don't feel like this worked. You have data. And that takes us back 2 weeks ago. Follow the evidence. So week 1, we talked about paying attention to what's already working. Week 2, we made sure people have a clear path toward buying the thing you sell. And this week, we're talking about actually inviting them to buy repeatedly. So before you create something new this week, choose one thing you've already created and ask yourself, have I really sold this? Have enough of the right people seen it? Have I explained why it matters? Have I addressed why someone might hesitate? Have I given it enough time? And do I have actual evidence, or am I reacting emotionally? There is a difference between an offer that failed and an offer you stopped supporting. And I want you to make sure that you know which one you have before you build the next thing. Maybe your next revenue stream isn't something you need to create. Maybe it's something you already created and finally need to sell. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode. And until next time, I hope you have a great rest of your week.
And flow. Let's go. Let's go.
And like my 3-year-old self said, that is all for this week. Friendly reminder to rate and review my show wherever you are listening. And last but not least, I'd love to hear from you. Leave me an audio message at bossgirlcreative.com/speak. I would love to hear your takeaways, ideas for upcoming episode topics, and your feedback. Thank you again for listening to this week's episode. And until next time, I hope you have a great rest of this one.